Yes, guys, welcome to the Game Week 8 Deadline Live. I do apologise for being slightly late on this live stream. As always, I am late to every single one of my streams. Now, I wasn't going to do a Deadline Live this morning. Bit of a mad one last night going to watch Peter Kay up in Birmingham, and it was a little bit late getting back. Struggled to get out of bed this morning, but I thought, you know what? I need to deliver. So I got to make sure I get this Deadline Live out for you guys. Now, as always, unfortunately, I don't actually do these deadline lives up until the deadline. It's a bit of a cop-out, I know, but it's worth noting there are so many unbelievable content creators out there. You will not be spoiled for choice once I do leave this live stream. So the plan is to be live for the next 40 minutes. And this stream is basically the opportunity for those that have been on the busier ones, can't get their questions answered. I am here to save the day, fingers crossed. And also, it's worth noting, still haven't made my transfer. I was going to do it last night, got into bed about 1 a.m. and there was no chance of me making any moves whatsoever. So, hopefully going to do it on stream maybe. First time ever, I think. I might do it on here, and I need you guys to help me out as well. So, hopefully, this will be a bit entertaining. So, get your questions in. Get them in the chat. I'm going to be answering them over the next 40 minutes. And I can't lie. I cannot lie. I'm still eating brekkie, so let me just munch on this a second and then we will get straight into the questions, okay? And if it sounds horrible on the mic, I do apologise, but man's got to eat, so that'll do me for now. Right. Let's get cracking. Immortal Trek Nico, we do well. Jack, Alvarez or Watkins, anyone? Jack, you're in a really tricky spot right now. All of the community, I say all of the community, are going for Watkins because of the hat-trick that we saw last week. But prior to the hat-trick, we were all talking about how Watkins was not necessarily the best FPL asset in the game. So, what I'll say is this. Alvarez has a trickier fixture this week, and his run is a little bit tricky. Brighton, Man United, but we know Man City can do damage against any team. The reason why I like Watkins is mainly because he's at 8 million and he is the most expensive of the forwards that you're considering right now. So you could easily downgrade from Watkins to any other option in the game. I quite like that option, but realistically, mate, Alvarez is one of the best FPL value picks in the game, so I can't really knock anybody going there at all. It's just kind of a case of all of the community feel like they're going there, and I understand why, because he's got guaranteed minutes in that Aston Villa team. Zombie, bench one out of Diaby, Burn, and Mbeumo. I got Trippier if that makes a difference. Okay, so realistically right now, Diaby is a doubt for the game, but it sounds like he could be available. Burn alongside Trippier is fine, but obviously against West Ham, I think that's going to be a tricky game. And then Mbeumo away against Man United, who defensively are woeful. Mbeumo, though, is probably the least exciting right now based on his form. I probably see a situation right now where you have to approach it in different ways. I probably would bench Mbeumo right now just because I don't think his upside is amazing, even though Man United have been very, very poor. But I get it. If you are worried about Diaby's game time, maybe just sacrifice Diaby on the bench and start the two players that you know are definitely going to play. But if it was me, I probably would rather play Diaby over Mbeumo this week. Bowen or Diaby? Hamoud is saying, so Diaby long term, I really do like, and I think it offers great value. I see a lot of FPL managers going into Bowen this game week, but I don't feel like it's the best entry point. Newcastle followed by Aston Villa, and then the fixtures get really good for him, I believe, with Everton at home. So I really like Bowen, and it's worth noting, in the Europa League, they played him as a centre forward, and Moyes was quoted by saying that they needed to try him as a forward to see whether he could actually work in that system, which suggests to me we could see Bowen as a forward at times this season, which is amazing when he is an out-of-position midfielder, sorry. And of course, he is getting an additional point for a goal and an assist being a midfielder. So I really do like Bowen. This game week in isolation, I prefer Bowen. Maybe over the next 8, I think I would lean towards Diaby maybe because the fixtures are that good for Aston Villa. Nacho, why is Darwin not in every team? Really good question. So I think the problem with Darwin Nunez right now, we've seen it historically. When we have an international break, he is in one of those teams that literally do travel halfway across the world. And they have quite a late kickoff in regards to other players. Game week 9, early kickoff on the Saturday for Liverpool. He's travelling back from South America. Jota will be back. Gakpo expected to be back. Although I think Darwin is a brilliant option this week and he could be a brilliant differential, from game week 9 and 10, I literally couldn't sit here and tell you whether he does play or not. And that's the problem. When we're considering forwards and we look at it, I think Darwin Nunez is the most explosive out of everybody barring Haaland. But realistically, Watkins versus Alvarez and Darwin, you know you're getting guaranteed game time from the other two, and that's why a lot of FPL managers are moving to the other options. Sorry, I need to finish this off. This is just shouting my name. Jay, is it worth taking a -4 for Fernandes to Son? The problem with Fernandes is I think he definitely does play. The fixtures are good. I'm in this problem right now. I'm going to reveal my team in a minute. Man United in the next two have some of the best fixtures, at home against Brentford, away against Sheffield United. But it's them as a team which really isn't offering any sort of confidence right now, and that's the big problem. So I'd probably argue Fernandes to Son for a -4. I don't love it. But if I was looking at over a few game week period, then I think it's okay. I think just wouldn't judge it in this week in isolation, because I wouldn't be surprised if Man United play crap, but they kind of like get a penalty, Fernandes scores it and he gets a 10-pointer. So I would not be shocked at that situation at all. Cheek said, when is the next best week to wildcard? Missed all the price rises, so feel game week 8 is too late now. Thoughts? Okay, yeah, so I'm in that exact same boat. I did feel at one point that I should have wildcarded. All the prices have rise, and now you just kind of feel like it is wrong to wildcard. Thankfully, I'm not doing it now, and I would not advise anybody wildcarding right now, because it's just not enough time to really build a good enough draft and justify you doing it this last minute. So now it's a case of being flexible with your wildcard. Realistically, if your team looks okay this week, it's going to look very good in game week 9. So I don't think a game week 9 wildcard is necessarily on the cards either. I think game week 10 is an option. You might be one of those managers that sat there with double Man City, double Man United, maybe no Arsenal, maybe no Liverpool. I think game week 10 ticks all them boxes because you can pile in on the Liverpool players. You can move away from your Man City and Man United assets if you want to, and bring in those Arsenal assets once they have Sheffield United at home in game week 10. So game week 10 for me is in the back of my mind to wildcard this week. What do you think about Almiron? With the injury right now to Harvey Barnes, the suspension of Gordon, I think Almiron definitely plays, and I think he probably gets some decent game time. So don't mind him as a differential if you want to go there at all. Michael, who to pick for 4 million or lower defender? There aren't many available. I think Tariq Lamptey is a good choice, but you know that he is obviously going to be losing his place once the Stupidam returns around game week 10. Charlie Taylor has been spoken about a bit at Burnley, 3.9 million. That's another consideration to go for as well. Is Trippier and Burn a good one? Walmax is in? Yeah, I think both are fine. I prefer Trippier, obviously, but the price point of him, what does that sacrifice elsewhere in your team? That's the thing you need to ask yourself right now. Going for Burn might mean that you can enable yourself to have Salah later down the line. If you go Trippier, it might completely block you off. And you need to try and plan a bit future forward when you are going for those Newcastle defenders. And I would argue that maybe the best of Newcastle fixtures are behind us now, but I still wouldn't put them past them. Wouldn't put it past them going for some decent run of, I can't talk, clean sheets. By the way, guys, I haven't said it. I'm always terrible at it. If you can, drop a like on the stream. It takes 2 seconds. I see we have over 80 of us in the stream. It would be sick if we could get the like count to around 50 before the end of the stream. Thank you so much once again. Right. On the wildcard, do I put in Højlund instead of Diaby? Look, I can't sit here and say to you should definitely go for Højlund because I haven't seen enough from him. Man United are very unpredictable right now. I prefer Diaby, but if you want to go really rogue, Højlund could be the pick of the bunch in that Man United attack. I believe he's only 7 million, so he's amazing value if he does actually hit the ground running soon. But I haven't seen enough from Højlund to suggest that I want to buy him in my FPL team. But again, another reason why maybe a later wildcard might be good, because if somebody like him does emerge as a top pick, we can easily move to him as part of a wildcard strategy. Neto or Gordon on the wildcard? Well, right now, obviously, you won't get Gordon for this game week because he is suspended. But Neto is really good and he's a bit of a talisman in this Wolves team. The one thing I would say is, and I heard a really good podcast recently by Planet FPL from one of the Wolves correspondents, they feel like Neto is going to be, yes, I know he scored a few recently, but probably more of a chance creator in this Wolves team rather than the goal scorer. So I don't expect Neto to get tons of goals, but I think he is a good pick at that price point. But longer term, I do prefer Gordon. David, 2 fit defenders, Pedro Porro worth -4. Yes, it depends who you're selling though, but I really do like Pedro Porro for the upcoming game weeks. He would be my preference over your doggy. Hey Nacho, Almiron, Bowen or Diaby? Thanks. So where I'd rank those right now would probably be Bowen number 1, Diaby number 2, and Almiron number 3. Start Areola or Turner. Realistically, looking at this game week, I probably would go for Areola and hope that they just catch Newcastle on a bad day. And regardless, I back the West Ham defence. And even if they don't, I think he has a chance of some decent save points at least. Realistically, Turner away against Palace. I know they've got the injuries with Eze and Elise long term, even Edouard, but I don't back the Forest defence myself personally. JWP or Solanke, whew, that's tricky because Solanke is flying under the radar right now. The problem with Ward-Prowse, he's a very difficult player to identify when his hauls are going to come. Now, he is different to his Southampton days. When he was at Southampton, it literally was impossible to know. And the reason why I say that is because he's so good on set pieces. He could score a free kick against any team. So what we saw last season was Ward-Prowse would rack up a 10-pointer against like Man United, Man City, Chelsea. And then he wouldn't do as well against the smaller teams. In this team right now with West Ham, they've got such a good system going on that he's actually the midfield line breaker, box crashing midfielder that's actually attacking those balls. So, of the two, longer term, I think I like Ward-Prowse because I think you could bench him and be okay with it. Whereas Solanke as a forward, I think you just want to play him every week because he's on penalties, guaranteed game time, and he's a forward. So I'm going to lean towards Ward-Prowse. What I would say to you is, can you get to Bowen? Because if it's Bowen, that is a game changer then. Jay, I owe you a thanks for telling me to start cash over a Stupinant last week. I think I said that, so that's good to know. That's good to know if I did. I've got a few dilemmas on a wildcard. No Haaland. No Haaland. Ooh, okay. Do I have Kabore over a 3.9? Also, do I go Diaz over Diaby? Means I need 3 moves to go back to Haaland rather than 2. Okay, so look, Diaz versus Diaby is a classic case of I prefer Diaz, obviously playing in a Liverpool side, but the rotation for Diaz later down the line could happen. We all know that. Diaby, on the other hand, is touch and go for this weekend, but long term is an unbelievable choice. Kabore versus a 3.9. I don't like Kabore in a Luton team. The double's now gone. 3.9 is fine. You could either go with Charlie Taylor or Tarek Lamptey in your side. Diaz versus Diaby. Look, for this game week, I prefer Diaz. I prefer Luis Diaz. I think his game time's locked in. But after the international break, playing away for South America, with Jota back, maybe Gakpo back, I could not sit here and confidently tell you that Diaz is going to play, whereas I think Diaby will. So because of that, I'm probably going to say Diaby, but obviously have a little bit of an indication that he could be a risk going into this game week because we don't know if he's fully fit or not. So that's the big problem right now. Guys, I do apologise. We are getting absolutely... We've got quite a few questions. Comments, and I didn't actually expect it. So what I'm going to do is quickly just change it to... oh, it's on that already. Hang on. What are we on here? Sorry, let me just double check this. What are we on? Dum, bum, bum. So I'm literally talking to myself and it makes no sense right now, but I do apologise. Cool, that's fine. Just sorting out. I thought we had it wrong settings, but we're back. We're back, right. Oh, I need to put my team up. Hang on. Sorry, I'm absolutely all over the shop today. Right. Going to be selfish for 2 seconds. Here is my team, and I need you guys to help me out right now. Like, I need the community to help me. So, I can do Saka to Son, or I can do Rashford to Son, or I can do... This is the plan. Saka to Son, 1 free transfer. Rashford to Son, 1 free transfer. Or Rashford to Son, Saka to Bowen. So, I need you guys to help me out here. What would you do? Please help me out, guys. Right, so first one, Saka to Son. And remember, this is 1 free transfer. I'm going to put a poll, by the way. You don't have to type it out, don't worry. Next one, Rashford to Son. 1 free transfer. Or the third option is going to be basically Saka. Oh my God, I cannot type. What is wrong with me today? And Rash to Son and Bowen. But that will be a -4. Wow, sorry about that. That took ages. Right. Help a brother out. Let me know in the poll what you would do. Take a little time to have a little think what you do, because I really value you guys' opinions, and it would be awesome to know what you would do in this situation. Right, let's crack on. I need to answer some more bloody questions. Is Trippier and Burner... I've covered that one off. Where am I on this chat? Saeed, hope you're doing well. Hey, love your streams. Neto versus Solanke. That's the tough one. That is a really, really tricky one. Look, I think both are going to be guaranteed game time. Solanke or penalties, which is added bonus. In terms of fixtures, I mean, I can't lie. I don't know Bournemouth's fixtures off by heart. Let me just check them out. Bournemouth's fixtures are decent, to be fair. Wolves's are... Is that even a word? Wolves's? A little bit more tricky. You know what? I probably would lean to Solanke if you could get there. I probably would lean to Solanke. But remember, that's going to change your system a little bit. So you need to think about how do you actually want your team to be set up. Because you go for Neto, you're likely going for a 3-5-2 formation. If you go for Solanke, you go more for a 3-4-3. So I also want to say to you, what direction you want to take your team. That's the big question. Pedro Poirot or your doggy? The answer there is Pedro Poirot if you can afford it. Captain Salah or Maddison or Haaland. Look, I do apologise. I don't have any of the fancy screens that a lot of the YouTubers do have. I will get there eventually. So I would love to have a little captaincy thing go around. Basically, the way I'd rank it right now, Mo Salah, number 1. I'd then have Son, number 2. Haaland, number 3. Maddison, number 4. Where would I put Watkins in that? Probably put Watkins on par with Haaland. I actually would have Watkins ahead of Maddison and on par with Haaland. Probably doesn't help that situation. But Salah is number 1 in my eyes. Is Matoma a good idea? He absolutely is a good idea, but I just couldn't sit here and confidently tell you that he's going to play every minute for Brighton because of the Europa League. That is the main reason. So because of that, I think he's a great pick, but just be cautious that he could get rotated from time to time. Captain Maddison or Watkins, probably just going to lean towards Watkins, only just. Matoma or Jackson? I would not be buying Jackson right now, so the answer would be Matoma. We don't know if Broha or Jackson are going to be the ones playing this week. Start Ake or Gabriel? Both are not good because I expect both to score. So I'm going to go for the home team and I'm going to say Gabriel in this situation. No, I don't love Richarlison. Look, could he do well this game week? Absolutely. But I don't like the thought of you making a transfer just to focus on one game week in isolation. After the international break, Brennan Johnson looks like he'll be available. Now, Perisic and Manor Solomon are going to be out long term. So that's good news for Richarlison, but we could see rotation with Richarlison from game week 9 onwards. And you might start looking at your team and thinking, bloody hell, why have I got Richarlison in my team? So for that very reason, I think Richarlison is great for this week, not good long term. Nico saying, what do you think about Solanke? I think he's perfectly fine. The underlying numbers are really good for him, guaranteed game time, and Bournemouth's fixtures are really good. The only thing I would say to you is, does it change the formation that you're going for? Does it mean that you're now going for a 3-4-3? If it does, I don't mind it at all, because I think you could just go for some powerful midfielders. You could afford maybe Salah, Son, Maddison, and maybe a Diaby or a Bowen with a cheap 5th midfielder. I really like the direction that team goes, but you need to ask yourself, is that how you want your team to be structured? Guys, thank you again for voting in the poll if you haven't already. I'm basically asking what you would do with this team right now. 40% are saying Rashford to Son, 23% are saying Saka to Son, and 36% are saying that I should do both Saka and Rashford to Son and Bowen for a -4. Now, the reason why I'm a little bit deliberating it as we speak is because if you said to me right now that Saka is definitely going to be playing this weekend, even though he has Man City, I would sell Rashford. But my main worry is, if I was to sell Rashford right now, and then imagine Son in the team, I'm then going to be stuck with a situation where if Saka doesn't play and Arteta's just playing mind games, then I'm going to have Kabore coming off the bench, and suddenly my team gets really, really weak. On the flip side, if I was to sell Saka, at least I know that I should be getting some significant game time from Rashford. Even if he doesn't deliver, I know I'm giving myself the better opportunity of a player that is starting. But does Saka start? Or is it a case of just, he will, and Arteta is just a maniac and he'll play him in any situation whatsoever? Because we're all sat here thinking, Arteta, give the guy a break, but he won't give him a break, honestly. Darwin or Alvarez? I think I'm going to say Alvarez right now, just because the thought of Jota being back in game week 9 just makes it straight away a worry about what to do with with Darwin long term. But if you said to me right now, Darwin is going to play 70 minutes in the next 10 fixtures minimum, I'm in. Because his underlying numbers are so damn good. The big chances are a joke. He's the only forward that matches Haaland. But I just couldn't sit here and confidently tell you that he is going to play every single week and start. Because we know Klopp loves Gakpo. We know he loves him. So even though we all know Darwin should start for Liverpool based on the underlying numbers, Klopp loves Gakpo. Is Diaby fit? We know that they're going to be training today, and the expectation is that if Diaby passes the training session, that he will be involved in the squad. Does that mean he'll start? Does that mean he'll bench? Does that mean 0 minutes? We don't know that, unfortunately. I would love to be able to tell you. Matoma against Liverpool or Jackson against Burnley. I can't lie, I literally do not know if Jackson will start against Burnley because Broha, for all accounts, done okay in their fixture away against Fulham. So maybe Matoma, and just hope that he rinses whoever is playing right back, whether it be Gomez or Trent Alexander-Arnold. Saka is healthy. Heard it here first by Elias, I believe. Diaby or Ward-Prowse for a wild card. Okay, so you're in a tricky spot. Ward-Prowse guaranteed game time. Diaby, slight risk for game week 8. I'd expect him to be on it from game week 9. In terms of an asset, I prefer Diaby. I can't lie. Longer term over the next 10, I would expect Diaby to outscore Ward-Prowse. He's basically playing as a second forward alongside Watkins, dropping into them pockets, looking fantastic. But for this game week in isolation, I probably would lean towards Ward-Prowse. So it's really tricky. It's really tricky. I personally, if I was wildcarding, would probably go to Diaby. It's worth noting, I might have a slide here. This is going to be fun because it might be any old slide that pops up. Yeah, this one here is what I built recently for a wildcard draft. And basically, why am I saying basically so much? This is what my wildcard team would look like. Now, the value of it is 101.7, but that is if you were buying them literally now at their fixed price. But I'm assuming you haven't wildcarded just now. You wildcarded on Saturday night. So you've probably accumulated lots of value in Son, Watkins, Bowen, Diaby, Cash. So I would like to think that this squad is attainable for a lot of FPL managers. Now, if it isn't, Diaby down to Ward-Prowse is a nice sacrifice that you can make, but then you are doubling up on that West Ham midfield, which isn't the best choice, I don't think. So I think this team's attainable, and this is the rough direction that I would go if I could build a wildcard team this week. The reason why I like it, I think you've got the powerful midfielders in the game. You've got the Watkins-Haaland combination. The defence is what it is. I don't think you can justify bringing in Trippier and sacrifice elsewhere. The only deviation I would move from this wildcard is potentially considering going for a front three. So what you could do potentially if you have value tied up in Alvarez is upgrade Archer to Alvarez and then downgrade Diaby all the way to a cheap 4.5 million midfielder and then roll out a 3-4-3 formation. That is something that definitely needs to be considered as well. And something that maybe we see the return of, the 3-4-3 in the game, because previously that was the goated formation. But unfortunately, the midfielders have become so damn powerful. So I'll leave that on the screens for now. Actually, I won't. Take a mental image, take a screenshot. I need to come back to my team because it makes more relevance on the poll that I put up. So basically 40% of you is telling me I should do Rashford to Son as part of my one free transfer. And then 35 is saying I should take the -4 and sell both Rashford and Saka for Bowen and Son. So tricky one. Højlund or Darwin? Højlund or Darwin or Solanke? Wow, what a tricky pick that is. I'm probably going to sit here and say to you that if I had to rank them, Solanke 1, Darwin 2, Højlund 3 probably. But Højlund could be unbelievable. I just don't know enough right now. But he will play a lot of minutes. Captain Watkins or Haaland, literally flip a coin there, but I probably would lean towards Haaland just. Is Cole Palmer a cheap, good option? No. I think he is going to play a bit of game time for Chelsea, but with, can never pronounce his name, Chukwuemeka, I believe. Obviously, Sterling returning to the team. I think there's going to be a lot of rotation in that Chelsea side. The thing about it is that if Pochettino stumbles across a team that's winning week in, week out, he cannot afford to be kind of experimented all the time. He needs to focus on getting results in the Premier League because unfortunately, Chelsea are very cutthroat. He hasn't got the luxury of other teams like Spurs or an Arsenal, where we've seen them stick by their managers. And I'm kind of being a bit premeditated there regarding what they're going to do with Ange. But I fully expect if Ange starts rotating, they will give him the time to do that. At Chelsea, unfortunately, it's very, very just black and white. If you don't get results, you're gone. So I don't think he feels like he will be able to move away from a team that wins. He probably will play Cole Palmer this weekend because he played well against Fulham. But all it takes is maybe a poor performance, Sterling to come in, win a game, and maybe Sterling's back in the side. Mudryk as well. Lots of competition for places in that team. Is it worth my free transfer from Mbeumo to someone else? It's a very luxury transfer move because they are playing against a Man United team who are in a really bad place right now. And I think you just kick yourself if you made that transfer. The only thing I would consider, what you could potentially do, is maybe do Mbeumo to Bowen as an option if you could go sideways. Because I think there is a high upside in that move. Diaby plus your doggy or Ward Price plus Pedro Poirot. So for this game week, I'm going to probably say Ward Price and Pedro Poirot because I don't know if Diaby is going to play this weekend. And you know you've got the better defender in Pedro Poirot versus your doggy. And you've got Ward Price who's got guaranteed game time and really good underlying numbers. So I probably would lean towards Ward Price and Pedro Poirot. But what I would say to you is, over the next 10 game weeks, I do prefer Diaby against Ward Price. Would you put Burn or Archer as your first sub if Diaby doesn't play? I'd probably just lean towards Burn, to be honest with you. I don't really expect much from Sheffield United at all. Is it worth my free transfer from Mbeumo to someone else? I'll cover that one off. Who should I have in my defence with Udogie and Ruben Diaz? Is that a wildcard question? I think Matty Cash is straight in that team if that is the situation. Diaby or Almiron? Almiron this week, Diaby longer term though. So if you're happy to stomach the fact that Diaby may not play this weekend, then Diaby. If you don't want to take that risk, then Almiron is the answer there. Salah or Son captaincy? Right now, if I was ranking captains, I would have Salah number 1, Son number 2, and then the likes of Haaland number 3. I just think you've got to chase that upside for Salah this week. Again, a Brighton team who defensively are really poor. Like, I don't actually know the numbers right now. And maybe I'm going to look at this and think to myself, oh, maybe it's just a narrative in the game where people are saying that Brighton are bad defensively. But if we look at the numbers, you won't be able to see this. I do apologise. But actually, we'll be able to see it on here. Give me a second. You might be able to see this. Let's get this up a minute. By the way, this is Fantasy Football Fix, the best site for all your stats. You might not be able to see it, though, the way it's cropped, but hopefully we can. So I'm going to the team right now. And if we look at defending, expected goals conceded, Brighton are here. So in 7 games, they've got an expected goals conceded of 12.05, which isn't amazing. They're in like basically the bottom 8 for teams defensively. So I think Brighton are poor defensively, to be honest. I think there's definitely opportunities for Liverpool to do well in that fixture. Mortal Tretney, thank you for monitoring the chat. I do apologise, guys, if you've been putting multiple questions. I haven't been answering them. It's basically just a case of I can't get to them right now. I'm trying to answer them. I see Jonas has put -4 hit for Maddison instead of Saka or Sterling. No, I don't like that for a -4 personally. The only one I consider selling there is Saka because I think Sterling's a tough one to sell because he was only out of a virus, and I think he will get decent game time even if he doesn't start this weekend. So it's a tough -4, but if you're happy to pull the trigger, just view it as a 3-game week -4 rather than this game week in isolation, because I see a lot of managers get very frustrated when their player doesn't deliver on that -4 in 1 game week. You need to view it more longer term, 100%. I went Eze to Bowen, but starting Jackson with Haaland with Pedro, my only available one on the bench. Hopefully that pays off, Dan. Didn't transfer cash on time, now can't afford cash and Son cash replacement. If you look for a cash replacement, honestly, you could stick with Aston Villa and go for Pau Torres. I think that's a perfectly fine alternative. Or if you want to take the risk on game time, I think Luca Digne as well is fine. But do know that Moreno is coming back around game week 9, we believe, so he could be a rotation risk. But if you want guaranteed game time in that Aston Villa defence, then I really do like Pau Torres. Is he going to offer attacking potential? Probably not, but I think his game time is pretty locked in with that Mings injury. When it's taking a -4 hit, worth it? It can be worth it at times. If you're selling a player that is guaranteed to be at long term, let's for example take a Ben Chilwell, who we know is out for a long time. A -4 there is justified because even though the player who's coming in might not repay it in this game week, longer term it probably will, because that is a player like Ben Chilwell who's accommodating a lot of value in your team. If it was a 3.9 defender and he was to be injured, I would just leave him as your third bench. But when it's a player who's accommodating 5.5 million in your budget, a -4 to get rid of that player is perfectly justified. Just remember, do not view it as he needs to return this -4 in one game week. View it as a longer term move. I don't like -4s for 1 week punts because they honestly have to do so much to return the favour on that -4. Shamil saying Rashford to Son for me in terms of my team contacts here. So yeah, for those who don't know, this is my current team. I pulled the trigger on Sunday night from Ruben Diaz to Matty Cash because I knew that was a player that I definitely wanted going into the weekend and longer term. But the big thing for me right now is, who do I sell for Son? I know I want Son and I'm going to put the captaincy on him as well. So the big question is it Saka to Son or Rashford to Son? The reason why I have this hesitation right now is, in an ideal world, if I knew both were starting, Rashford to Son would be my move. But my worry is if I do Rashford to Son and then Saka actually isn't available, I then have Kabore coming off the bench for him, which isn't ideal at all. Whereas if I were to sell Saka, we need to know, even if Saka does play, it's not a good fixture at home against Man City. I wouldn't say that Saka's ceiling is absolutely monstrous. And then after that, they have Chelsea away. Now I get it. A lot of people hate on Chelsea, but I think defensively, Chelsea are not too bad. If we look at the numbers for Chelsea for expected goals conceded, they're actually 4th best. You can see here at 7.95. The only teams better than them are City, Arsenal and Newcastle. So I don't think it's going to be an easy day at the office for Arsenal, it is worth noting. And by this period, Reece James will probably be available as well, which is a big bonus for them from a defensive perspective. Caicedo, Enzo and Gallagher as a midfield 3. Yes, you might laugh about that, but I do think that will cause problems for Arsenal. So the next two I don't think are amazing fixtures for Bukayo Saka. So now the question is for my team, do I sell Saka this game week and I just accept that I'm going to get 60 minutes minimum from Rashford, I imagine? Is that going to be better than taking the punt on Saka this game week? Because we need to remember, and by the way, if you don't have this, get on it. It's FPL Plus, a Google Chrome extension, which is totally free through Fantasy Football Fix. And it literally just syncs up with the official app, with the official site. So basically, this is how my team's looking. If I was to sell Saka for Son, this is how my team would look, which double Man United is not ideal at all. Then, going into game week 9, that's tasty. Rashford and Fernandes away against Sheffield United. That's tasty, but can they actually deliver on it? I don't know. I don't know on that. But the plan would be not to wildcard in game week 9 because the fixtures are too damn good. If I wildcard out of this team, it's outrageous. The only fixtures that I am absolutely devastated not to have an investment in, and it could absolutely wreck me, is Liverpool at home against Everton. That's the only fixture that I have no investment in, which could be a big issue for my team. Then coming into game week 10, this would be the week where I most likely would wildcard. Now, there are some favourable fixtures here for me, obviously with the likes of Aston Villa, but I have double Man City, double Man United in this team, and Arsenal will then be at home against Sheffield United. I will have no Ollie Watkins at home against Luton, and I don't have any Liverpool at home against Nottingham Forest. So this feels like the opportunity to pull the trigger potential on a wildcard if I cannot, with free transfers, get to a solid team and start to restructure my side in game week 10. So the big question is, Saka at home against Man City and away against Chelsea, or Rashford at home against Brentford and away against Sheffield United? And it should be a no-brainer. It should be sell Saka and bring in Son for him and go with Rashford. But honestly, Rashford and Man United are just so hard to predict right now. It is almost an impossible task to know what to do. But I get it. A lot of people are calling me crazy for considering keeping Rashford this game week. And I'm not a Man United fan, for those that are wondering. Right, guys, as I said, unfortunately, although this is a deadline live, I won't be going up until the deadline. Because for those that know, I am a TikTok guy as well. And I am pretty hardcore on that. So I do need to do a TikTok live from 10 till 11 over on there. So if you're interested on that, make sure you jump over in the next 5 minutes over on TikTok to go check it out. I haven't pulled my trigger on my transfers. Like, I want to do it now, but I just don't really know what to do. I really don't know which one I want to move for. This is the big problem. Is Awoni a good option? Yes, Awoni is a good option. I think he's fine. Looking at the fixtures coming up. Nottingham Forest fixtures are here. Palace, Luton, Liverpool, Villa, West Ham. He's fine, but that's it. He's just fine. That's all I would say about him, really. Burn or Gabriel? I have Trippier. Gotta go Burn, I think. I think you've got to go Burn in that situation. I just don't think... Do Man City keep a clean sheet? I doubt it. I doubt it. Play Nana or Areola? I would play... Ooh. Can we back the Man United defence? Probably not. I'd probably go Areola, to be honest. Is Maddison central this week? No, I don't think he's essential. But I just think he's a really easy pick because he has Luton away and Fulham at home in the next two. It's just an easy move. Right, guys. I really do apologise. I am going to wrap up this live now. Thank you so much for being on it. As I said, there are so many unbelievable content creators out there that there is going to be so many streams going on right now. If I haven't answered your question, head over to the others. They are going to be able to help you out, hopefully. So if you want to stick around and actually check out more of my content, I'm going to be going live on TikTok in the next 5 minutes. I get it. You might not be a 15-year-old girl, as a lot of people think TikTok is. But if you are interested, head over to that and I'll be answering questions over there. And I haven't done my transfer, so I'm probably going to have to do it over on TikTok. So thank you so much, guys. If you're not subscribed already, please do consider hitting that subscribe button. And thank you for all the support. International break, so the content will be a little bit slower in the next week, but I will be dropping some videos over this period. Have an amazing week, guys. Catch you soon. Cheers.